What prison life is really like. We did a survey in Camden with just 40 young people, and 37 of the 40 said they would do 2 years in prison for £1,000.
So this is Hayley Harkin. She's a HR leader, helps build world-class organisations, the head of people.
My dad was an alcoholic and a drug user, kicked me out of the house when I was 15.
Hayley's been on a personal journey, one which has had some incredible challenges.
But I think a pivotal moment for me was when I was diagnosed with cancer. Women, we will go to the gym, we're smashing our strength training, and then it comes to this particular week and we feel weaker. I think that it's been a taboo to talk about women's cycles. Your thinking skills, your creativity, it's all different at different parts of your cycle.
Hayley works at Kayleigh's Dream, where the co-founder is actually a youth violence prevention specialist. It's all about deterring the youths of London avoiding prison time, which has been so glamorised by TikTok and Instagram, and it's just not a reality.
More and more young people carrying knives, and they're saying, I don't want to use it, it's just for protection.
Can you help me understand why knife crime has become such a growing phenomenon?
Yeah,
So our paths crossed. Mm-hmm. Would it have been in 2016?
2017.
2017. Yep. And you came to join our organisation to sort it out.
Yes, I did.
Our business was taking off, but it needed reining in and refining and the culture polishing.
Yes, it did. And that was my birth into recruitment, actually. That was my first recruitment-based role.
It was, right. Yeah. And prior to that, which brings us together now, actually, is your previous experience, which was in kind of care, rehabilitation, prison services. Is that right? Yeah,
so I spent a while within Islington Council. I did a couple of different roles. So I worked in Holloway Prison for a while with the forensic psychology team, looking at mental health, rehabilitation, particularly of life sentence prisoners. Because actually I was adamant that I wanted to be a forensic psychologist. That's what I went to uni to do. Really? And I was absolutely sure that's what I wanted to do. Having got in there, I realised that actually it felt a little bit too late and I wanted to work on the more preventative side.
Okay.
And that's how I ended up in Islington Council, working with the children's services. Amazing. And did a couple of different roles there. One was going into schools and helping schools deliver on PSHE and, sex education, stuff around gangs, social media, all of that good stuff that isn't covered in curriculum.
Yeah.
And then from there, I ended up in a role that was more intensive. So it was called the iFit team. So intensive family support, working with a small caseload of vulnerable children and their families.
Central London.
Yes.
So where did life begin? You were born and raised in Central London, I believe.
Yes, Ladbroke Grove, West London.
Right.
Born and raised.
I know it well.
Yeah.
The West
Best
Way.
place, I think.
It is an amazing place. For anyone that's not lived there, the community, we spoke about it earlier, didn't we? The community is absolutely fantastic. It feels like it's the most similar place in London, actually, to where I was brought up in Cornwall, where you can walk down the road, you see all the same faces. Everyone's kind of happy to see you. The butcher's like, hey,
Yep, everyone knows everyone. Everyone looks after everyone. It's an amazing place.
Yeah, really great. Good. And so you were educated? You went to school in that area?
So primary school was in that area. Secondary school ended up going a little further out. So northwest London, so Kilburn. I went to school in Kilburn. So a little bit further, but not that far.
Did you make it to uni or straight to work?
I did make it to uni. I did because I wanted to be a forensic psychologist. Yes. So I got to uni. I went to Brunel, which was in West London, bit further out, more Uxbridge way.
Yes.
And then, once I finished uni, came straight into the world of work.
And is that where you were studying the psychology side?
So I did psychology at Brunel.
Right.
And the plan was to then do a master's in forensic psychology. But once I'd started working in the prison, realised I didn't actually want to go down that route. So ended up.
And what led you to want to do psychology?
I've always been interested in what makes people tick, why people make the decisions they make, and helping people. My background, my dad was an alcoholic and a drug user. It was quite a turbulent household, and it just made me want to help other young people in similar situations or worse situations. I grew up in Ladbroke Grove, so the area there was lots of poverty, very diverse communities, and I just always had a passion for supporting those people.
And how much of, do you think, the psychology aspect, your kind of interest and curiosity of that was fueled by understanding your earlier years, do you think?
Now I'm a little older and been on my own healing journey. I think a lot of it was driven by that. Really? I think that there was definitely a lot of trauma that I probably locked away myself. Right. And so I was always on this mission to help others, thinking that it would soothe myself. But actually, that was a whole different journey I had to go on. Yeah. But I definitely think it was fueled by that. I, went off on a bit of a tangent myself and made some poor choices. And now I can connect the dots and I can look back, and I actually loved that I grew up the way I did because it makes me me. But I think I spent a lot of time trying to unpick and uncover who actually I was. Yeah,
it's interesting, isn't it? Because I always say that the most difficult journeys are often the most rewarding. Mm-hmm. When you're younger, those difficult journeys at the time, and even maybe soon after them, you don't necessarily reflect on how the positives or strengths of your character and your DNA.
100%.
They help define.
The resilience it builds.
Yes, yeah. And do you link, so if you link that back, are there any particular of your earliest memories you think that have led you to that discovery, and that curiosity around wanting to understand psychology?
Yeah, for sure. So I've got a sister who's disabled, a younger sister.
Right.
And I think there was always an imbalance of my dad's attention, for example. And I think that a pivotal moment for me was just my dad kicked me out of the house when I was 15, and I could never really understand it. And I think that there made me really curious at why me. I know that my sister was disabled, but it was like she was the golden child, but I was trying so hard. I was getting good grades at school. I was trying to make good decisions and be almost picked and chosen. Yes. And I think that when he asked me to leave the house, that there was when I was like, right, I need to understand this. I need to understand what's wrong with me. It was a lot of, I thought something was wrong with me.
Right.
And then that just opened up kind of that journey for me.
Yes, yeah. And how long did it take you to get to understand those choices and decisions?
I think I'm still understanding and learning now. I did mention earlier that I attend something called, it's called Children of Alcoholics Anonymous. So I attend that, and there's a lot of learning to be done there. Right. Lots of people from troubled households, not just alcoholics, but all different types of people there that just struggled with their parents, and hearing those experiences. So on a weekly basis, I learned something new. But I think a pivotal moment once again for me was when I was diagnosed with cancer. And I researched that because the doctors were shocked. No one thought I was going to have cancer. I was only 29. How have I got this serious colon cancer? And actually, when I did lots of research on that, there's lots of research that says trauma and resentment is held in your colon and can lead to such diagnoses. And I do believe that now.
Yes.
So yeah, I think that a lot of my learning became part of my cancer recovery, and I was absolutely adamant that I had to survive. So then I invested so much into my own healing journey and recovering from all of that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And obviously that journey actually started at the same time that we met, didn't it? Which, like you say, so 2017, 18.
Yeah, so I was ill kind of 2018 is when I kept getting ill and no one knew what it was. And then I was diagnosed in 2019, finally.
Yeah. And I know you were incredibly inspiring, the way that you managed that whole period of your life, and the way that you were, I think you're obviously very close to Geeta at that moment in time. He was obviously incredibly supportive leader. But the way that you navigated that was just inspiring to everyone around you. I don't know if you see that in retrospect, but
I think people tell me. I wouldn't ever say, oh yeah, I was such an inspiration then. But people definitely said. I remember telling Richard I was scared. I had the appointment the next day, and he took me downstairs in our old office, and there was a cafe downstairs. And he said, let's have a quick chat. He was like, you're going to be fine tomorrow. And I said, I don't know, I think something's really wrong. And I remember crying to Richard, and he was amazing. I've always been a big fan of Richard's. And obviously the next day I got my diagnosis, and I actually asked Aubra to tell Richard because I just couldn't do it. And when he found out, he was so supportive. But it was that I think everyone was as shocked as me. But you just have to keep going.
And the point was that you had come into that role with us at that moment in time, and you had great energy, and you were having such a positive impact. it's so surprising for you and everyone around you at that moment in time. How did you start to process that, and what was the start of that journey like for you? I can't imagine.
I think it actually made me feel seen and heard, because I'd been saying something was up for about 12 months with doctors. I was back and forth. I was in A&E a lot of weekends, but then, back at work on Monday and trying to get someone to listen. So when I did get a diagnosis, I just thought, see, I told you so. I knew something was up. It was more of a, yes, I knew there was something serious.
Yes.
And I just know that I didn't cry. I'd taken my mum with me, and she burst into tears, and I was just, apparently, I don't remember it very well, but they showed me on the screen, like, here's your tumor. It is really big. It's about stage 3. Like, this is serious. And I just went, right, what's next? Like, no crying, no anything. It was like, right, what's next? We've got to just keep going. And it was literally, I had surgery 5 days later because it was that serious. They were like, we don't know how you're walking around. And from there, it was planning. I'm an organized person anyway. So as per usual, I put a plan. I had a checklist, the books I was going to read, the podcasts. Yeah. And then that became my crutch, really. It was learning became my crutch. All food, kind of the power of now, that sort of stuff, meditation. I just threw myself into all of that. When I was having my chemo, I would take all my books with me. People would be like, let me come and sit with you. And I was like, nope, it's fine. I've got my books. And that just helped me get through.
So inspiring. So inspiring. And I guess it's incredible, Hayley, like just hearing the way and seeing that, and almost I'm reliving that because we were aware of just how resilient and brave you are. How much of that resilience, you spoke about it earlier, that you get your resilience from earlier in life.
Yeah.
Does that resilience, do you think, come from some of the challenges that you had? Have you mapped those back to that start of your journey?
Certainly. It's, I guess, when you have a turbulent childhood, it becomes a lot about survival and defense mechanisms. And I think sometimes they are unhelpful in certain relationships. They'll come to the surface and they're an inconvenience. But other times when you're faced with something like a cancer diagnosis, that resilience and that I'm going to survive anything, that gets you through. And it's having the support. So like we've mentioned, Ladbroke Grove is an amazing place. That community support, my family support, everyone rallying behind. I had treatment at the Royal Marsden.
Yep.
And when I had my surgery, there were so many people coming to visit. I remember a nurse saying, I've never seen so many visitors. I had people from the business that we worked at there when I woke up. A couple of people were just at my bedside, and there was constant people there. And it was, what do you mean? I can't die. I can't give up now. All these people need me to survive. And that's literally, comes from those early experiences.
That's really interesting to think about, and for other people to hear just how inspiring and support and helpful that level of support was. You're right, because you were surrounded, I'm not aware of outside of work, but definitely in work, you were incredibly popular, but also there were a lot of very passionate and supportive and kind-hearted people in the business. And it's great to hear, but it's that they rallied around. But more importantly, it's interesting to hear that they helped you create an accountability that helped provide you with the kind of support and foundations you needed to give you the strength through that period, which is really interesting.
A lot of the time, people around you become very upset with your diagnosis. And so you don't get time to be upset because you're actually now supporting those people and feeling better. And actually, I found that helpful because I didn't have time to sit and be sad. I was, holding my best friend while she's in tears, like, you can't die. And I'm like, it's all right, don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. I mean, that does get you through, but it's those people being around you and showing how loved you are and how cared for you are, that you're like, there's no other option. I've got things to do.
That's a great message for so many people. If you can go above and beyond to show the love and support to those people which are going through those times, it's invaluable. Yeah,
definitely. Even if it's upsetting for you or you're worried, showing people that you love them enough to be worried, that's all it takes.
Yeah, that's really interesting because that's counterintuitive to how someone might feel.
Yeah.
I can't show them that I'm upset.
Yeah.
But actually showing them you're upset.
And we pick up on it anyway. So even if you're pretending you're not, we can see it. Yeah. People act very differently around you.
Yeah. So actually just demonstrating how much you're loved.
Yeah.
Maybe that's going to be upsetting. That's understandable.
Yeah.
I'll come back to this resilience, because I guess when you've been through that turbulence in your family, that's your support mechanism when you're growing up. And if you've got something that's undermining that, and you can call it, it was very turbulent, it unknowingly can build a level of resilience that you're just unaware of.
Yeah.
And I guess that obviously got tested and brought to the foray.
Yeah. Much
at that point in time in your life. When you go back to those experiences when you were younger, they obviously led to you, like you said, being asked to leave at 15. Are you able to kind of map a series of, was it kind of almost like cut by cut? Does that make sense? Was it 1,000 small cuts that led to building that resilience, or was it more that one? Do you think it was that one moment in time where you were told to leave him, be independent, or were you just built to be resilient?
I think it was lots of little things and having to constantly get back up, and what goes on at the house. I came from a household where it's what's said in the house stays in the house, so it was all sorts of things happening in the evening around my dad, and then going to school the next day and showing up, but I had to be a straight A student because otherwise he would be angry. My mum was amazing, and I'm so close with my mum. She's my best friend, but she was experiencing her side of that trauma too until my dad did leave the family home. Right. But it was lots of small things on a day-to-day basis, some of the verbal abuse that my dad would say in the nighttime, and I'd have to get up and go to school the next day. But if I didn't get those grades, it was going to get worse. So it's like, right, we just got to keep going. I was bullied at school. There weren't very many white people in my school, so I was one of few, and I was kind of bullied for that, and bullied for being the white girl and trying to fit in with these different communities that were new to me. So yeah, I think it's lots of little things.
So you were basically raised fighting.
Yeah.
And do you know what's remarkable is there'll be so many people today which are on that journey which won't realise that however tough it is today, you don't realise just how well equipped you're being to deal with the challenges that will be thrown at you later in life.
Yeah, I could only imagine how many people would go through it, because I always think that mine wasn't that bad. There's people that go through a lot worse.
Yes.
But when I look back on some of those moments, I remember being like, I can't do this. How many more things? Or, I ended up becoming quite religious, and people always say, God gives his battles to the strongest soldiers. And I'm like, I've had enough. I've had all my share, please, no more. Yes. But that now, whenever I'm faced with something difficult, I'm like, okay, but I have been through worse. I remember feeling like it couldn't get worse, or it would never get better. And you always come out and you look back and you go, that's why that happened.
Yes.
So it's always just getting to that aha moment again.
It is, and when the thing with alcohol, I mean, I have experienced it. And my childhood was nothing. It had its challenges, right, but it wasn't anywhere near the way that you describe yours. But I do understand I do have some experience of the impact of alcohol, and that is such a fucking curveball in a family, isn't it? Because it just creates unrecognizable or illogical behavior. So I would put it down to, I think the biggest issue is that it fuels misunderstanding. From my experience, where someone is telling you something and they're so passionate about it, but it's fueled by alcohol, their ideas and thoughts, and they're so displaced. I remember being accused of drink driving. You've been drinking.
Yeah.
And I'm looking, I'm going, you're pissed. I haven't touched a fucking thing.
Yeah.
Right. Do you know what I mean? And just being absolutely baffled. And that was one of very, very few examples. It happened once.
Yeah.
It stays with me.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine having to live in a world where that is the norm.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And does that resonate?
Yeah, so it was the everyday. So my dad used cocaine and alcohol every day.
Right.
And then would come home, very intoxicated, would smash up the house, hurl abuse at my mum, up the stairs to me. You know, because I like I said, I was one of the only white kids in my school. My friendship group was mostly black. And then he had an issue with that. And then it would be calling me all sorts of things up the stairs and saying, you better not bring any of them people here to this house. And then I had to get up and go to school the next day. And they're like, oh, we'll come and pick you up from your house. And I'm like, oh my God, you cannot come to my house. And it's that venom and that, like you said, it's the passion behind what's said. And then you start questioning yourself, like, am I going crazy? Is what he's saying right? And obviously in hindsight, you wish that you'd been a little bit almost stronger, but you're a kid. You're living under that roof, and my dad made it very well known. This is my house, my rules. I rule the roost here. And I remember feeling angry at my mum, being like, defend me. But, you know, now I'm older, I know that she was a victim of that abuse and trauma too. But being a child and being like, come on, like, protect me, please.
Yeah.
And I know that she has to live with that, and she finds it difficult.
Do you understand, have you gained any clarity on why he was like that?
His dad was the same. So my grandfather was the same. And his upbringing was traumatic too. And it shows in the siblings. My dad's siblings all use different types of drugs and vices. It's all four of them. So I don't really have a relationship with my dad now. I chose to walk away because you can understand as much as you like, but he still uses. And until you're in a better place and can take accountability for the things I said, I can recall memories. And he said it doesn't happen. I'm like, okay, well, until you realize that they did happen, we can't have a relationship.
Yeah, it's so tough, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing in this fucking crazy world, which is that people's realities are defined by their experiences. Mm-hmm. What they believe is acceptable and normal is defined by often the environment that was carved out for them.
Yeah.
And so it's really important to sometimes realize that your anger at them can be justified but misplaced also.
Yeah. And it's about what can we do? So I'm trying to break those generational curses. And I live a very different life and have a different approach, but I've had to make tough decisions. So not being in contact with my dad for now, that's, how I'm navigating that, going and doing the healing myself, being around other people that have been children in these households, and doing that work just so that I don't become the next generation of that.
Yeah. And that's a fascinating point, isn't it? That so often we either choose to go down their path or we choose to learn from their path.
Yeah.
And often the generational gaps that we're talking about, there's often quite a lot to learn from their path as opposed to want to go down it.
Yeah.
If I think about, me getting hit as a kid, like it was just the norm. I mean, even on fucking TV, you'd have daytime TV would be talking about, I'm going to spank you as a kid, whatever. Do you know what I mean? Which is completely unacceptable today.
Yeah.
And for the right reasons. There's in particular some kind of radio DJ kind of things from the 70s, early 80s where this guy touched my bottom, in recording. And that's that full. And I always say, look, just as many weirdos and criminals back then as there are today, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So I'm not justifying any behaviour. But the problem is that the societal norms at that point in time was that, if you watch anything on television on a Saturday night back in the 80s, you won't be aware of this, but, there will be sketch after sketch after sketch of blokes pinching a lady's bottom. It was it was a thing. Carry On films and which everyone sees. And
there's
so,
a few that I've seen recently, and I'm like, oh my goodness, can't believe they could say that.
Yeah, and it's fucking crazy, isn't it? And then you kind of go, well, actually, and then those are our biggest influences, right? So back then, there is no social media. There's 3 TV channels. There's very little entertainment outside of that.
Yeah.
And so that becomes setting your standards. And so, and so having it's very tough, isn't it, to have this iron fist around your right values, but this velvet glove of being able to say, but I'm going to provide a window, like you said, to someone to accept that.
Yeah.
And that they do have the opportunity today to accept that account and take accountability for it and recognize they could have done better.
Yeah.
Maybe not perfectly, but just even that acceptance. And that sounds like where you need
the acceptance, because then it's the understanding of this is the impact this had on me. Can you understand that? Yeah. But if you're not accepting that you ever did it, we can't get to the impact. So, and
that leads you to psychology. So you go to university to understand psychology. Now, do you think that was about understanding you or understanding him?
I think it was a mix, but very heavily understanding him.
Right.
Because I remember certain theories would come up, and I'd really, like Freud, I was like, right, this is about parents and kids and I need to understand this. And I couldn't always find a match. It's not always easy to say, oh yeah, this translates to my situation. But I do remember feeling that, okay, well, how can I make sense of what's happened here then? Why is my dad like this? Why am I like this? Why am I not good enough? And never really finding that answer, to be honest. Not from the books, not from the studies.
No, it's because the theory can explain maybe some of the reasons for the behaviour, but it's never really going to paint a full picture. No,
100%. And that more came down the line when I started working with a therapist myself and unpicking my own stuff and then applying that to, right, if I've had to sit here and unpick this, it's almost like my dad would need to sit with this lady and do the same for him to even understand. So it's, trying to understand the small details of why. I just need to understand my understanding of it.
Was there a particular part in that journey where you decided to flip the learning into kind of making it about you? I need to focus on me and my journey.
Yeah, I would say the cancer diagnosis, that was like, right, okay, it's time now. And that's when just a light switched on so many areas of my life. I'd actually been in a really abusive relationship for about 6 years. And now I look at that, everyone said, oh, you choose someone like your dad. And I was like, it's nothing like my dad, doesn't look like him, they're completely different. And actually now I look, those core behaviors, those core values were my dad, just in a different body and race and whatever else. And once I became ill and I looked at the trauma and I thought about the timelines when I'd got my cancer, they said this has probably been growing 5 to 10 years. I'd been in my relationship 6 years. And I was like, oh, this is all adding up for me. And that's when I said, right, I need to switch things and become about me. And I had not long started working at the organisation that we met. Yes. And that was actually pivotal for me. I said, okay, this is brand new industry, brand new experience. And I think I joined in the May and I ended that relationship in the August. And it just became such a big turning point for me. New career, moved out, went somewhere else, ended a relationship, and it all just became about becoming me. Knew I was ill at that point, hadn't got the diagnosis, got the cancer diagnosis, and then really created that funnel of like, right, what does food say? What does emotion say? What does exercise say about why I'm here today? And yeah, that's where it all became about myself.
So what did you learn from those 3 areas about, how it impacted your health?
Well, definitely in terms of emotions, I think that I bottled emotions up for a long time, stayed in traumatic situations for far longer than I needed to.
Yep.
And by not having an outlet, by not speaking my truth, for accepting disrespect, I do think that had an impact on everything in my body. So my cortisol would have been raging all the time. I was always in fight or flight, whether that was with my dad or with my ex, always like on the edge of my seat, what's going to happen next? And when I look at that, being in that adrenaline, that cortisol, that's not good for your body. So my body picked up that trauma. And then around food and exercise, I didn't prioritize myself. So I was eating fast food. I was, just not looking after myself at all. Wasn't sleeping properly. Was catering to everyone else's needs before my own. And a key learning was if you don't actually look after yourself, guess what? Your body will say, hey, I've had enough now. So that was a massive learning for me as well. Yes. And I was always really slim, right? So I was like, I can eat whatever I want. It doesn't matter. And my friends would always say, oh, I'm so jealous. You just eat all this rubbish and you don't put on any weight. It's way deeper than weight, because what I was doing to myself on the inside was chaos.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Yeah, there's so much science behind this now, isn't there? Yes. So much research around getting the right balance of these things. And what are the things that you've put in place to address it? So what action have you taken to move forward to address those?
So a big part of my kind of world at the moment outside of my career is the women's health space, and actually kind of learning about the menstrual cycle. And there's like 4 phases of that, and each phase of that can be leveraged in different ways, even around your energy. And if you're going to work and your performance, different parts of your cycle, you're better at different things. And with that also comes syncing your food and your exercise. So at different parts of that, leaning in and saying, right, my hormones are at this place today. I'm going to absolutely smash HIIT training and I'm going to feel great after it. Yeah. Oh, I'm at this part of my cycle. Yin yoga is going to really help me get into the deep parts of what I'm feeling right now and reflection. And that's also a time I'm going to smash my admin out. So I just sync everything around that now.
That's
and
interesting.
I'm on a journey to help other women understand that, because we're not taught it at school. We're taught you're going to have a period. Be ready. That's it.
And fuck, man, like, so I'm fortunate to have had some wonderful girlfriends and a wife, right, and have met some amazing women and girls and ladies over the years, and to almost a dime, every one of them goes on an incredible emotional roller coaster each month. And I've always been subtly conscious of it with my team, but I'm a bit of a relentless character, right? And so I'm so focused on the goal. Yeah. And I've got to be honest with you, when I think about if I take my ex-wife, the journey that she goes on in a month, and I think about then if all of the female leaders, and we've had loads of them, right? Really, you're aware of them, like some amazing leaders across all parts of our business, whether it's leading tech or recruitment businesses or head of people or whatever. We had a super diverse business of incredibly talented and driven and honest women leaders. But to think that they're going on that emotional roller coaster and having to manage that effectively and efficiently, and not having had any support training how to navigate it is quite incredible. Yeah, it is. And I always look back and think, if only I'd be given these tools when I was 13, 14, 15, because I've done very well without them. But if I had them and I understood, okay, so the next 5 days, I'm probably going to be feeling like this. And the gym is a great example. Women, we will go to the gym, we're smashing our strength training, and then it comes to this particular week and we feel weaker. So literally, last week I lifted 60. Today I'm struggling with 30. My muscles physically can't do it. And actually what your hormones are doing is preparing for you to shed your womb. And so there's loads of stuff going on the inside, and it naturally takes a dip, but it will come back up. But when you don't understand that, you throw in the towel. You say, look, it's all been for nothing. Then you go and have a binge eat because you didn't go to the gym, and it kind of fall off that track. Right. And then you're doing that every month, because then when your hormones pick up again, you feel great and you're back in the gym. And you're like, all right, starting again. So how many times I'll start again on Monday? And then you do that again and again. But now that I understand my cycle and where I'm at, and I track it to a T, it's also really empowering to understand your body. And I use apps and I use my temperature and stuff, and I know exactly what my body is doing. And I can say, okay, I'm probably going to feel a little weaker today. I'm not going to bother doing lower body. I'm going to do this instead. And so you still just keep that momentum up, and you don't think, I failed, or look, I'm not getting stronger, because it's just the science of it. That little period of your cycle, you're a bit weaker. And so you're effectively, you've turned it from, rather than kind of swimming into the waves and every, few weeks or whatever it is, hitting a different wave throughout the month, you're kind of now swimming with them. Yeah. Knowing when you're at the top of the wave or coming to the crest of it, the bottom of it.
And listening to my body, knowing that, right, okay, my body is going to be preparing to have a period. Yeah. Right, I'm probably going to need to eat a bit more red meat right now, because I'm going to need the iron, because that's what I'm going to lose. Yes. Or there's just certain foods that you can eat at different parts of your cycle to support those hormone changes. And once you've done it for a while, it's just natural, and you can feel what you need. Our bodies talk to us all the time. We just got to listen.
So how big an impact do you think that's really had on your performance? And factor in the fact that there might well be some kind of placebo effect, which we always have when we feel like we've got a structured organization, we're doing the right things.
And we've got control,
Yeah, absolutely, So, but can you really look at it materially, do you think, and see that see the impact?
Yeah, so even in my work, within my last role, a director of kind of global people, obviously on day to day, there's going to be sometimes you have meetings, and it doesn't matter where you're at in your cycle, that meeting's going to happen. That's fine. But certain things around, my admin, or if I need to be more creative, I need to put a presentation together, something a bit more thought-led, I would leave that for certain parts of my cycle, and I would communicate that with my team. I had women reporting into me, and I would always know where they're at in their cycle and be conscious of tasks. And actually it supported performance because you're leveraging your strengths at different parts. Yes, there will be the absolute non-negotiables that need to happen. Things are going to come up. You've got to go to that meeting. But I also go into those meetings knowing where I'm at. So if I am, we call it the luteal phase, that's just before you have your period. That is probably where most women are. That roller coaster is getting real fast. I'd go into those meetings and say, okay, you know where you're at, hold your tongue, give it a minute, come out of there, rather than being reactive and saying, no, it's not, how many times have women been told, oh, you're on your period? It's not falling into that, basically. And it helped me loads. And then outside of work, planning my food and my exercise around where I'm at, that then supports how I'm feeling at work the next day.
How aware are you? Because this is kind of, it's mad, isn't it? I'm like, what? But the more I kind of scratch the surface of this, I come back to that point, which you've seen me work with loads of women leaders, and have great relationships and with them and be considerate to their needs and all that kind of stuff. Albeit, I've got to be honest with you, you're making me realize that I could have been more considerate, I guess, or put myself in their shoes, or being just more conscious of the fact that they're on that journey. Because I've seen it externally. I've got loads of experience of that. But did I really map that in as a leader? And I feel like I do that in many, many ways with leaders. But do I really map that? I don't think I have. I don't think I've been as aware because that's a performance hack.
Yeah,
right?
It's a massive hack.
Yeah.
When women are ovulating, they are more social, they have more high energy, and, honing in on that, unfortunately for the women, it only lasts about 3 days of the whole cycle. But the energy there is unmatched. And that's, but women are going to be more open to going on a date. They're going to be more open to trying something new at work or smashing through something. And it's about making sure the women are aware of that, because a lot of women that I speak to, I've got an Instagram page and people speak to me about it. They're like, oh, I didn't realize that was what that was. And, someone that we both know and think highly of, I've spoken to her about her ovulation energy, and actually she can feel a little bit aggressive because that energy is really bubbling away. But it's definitely a performance hack. I think that it's been a taboo to talk about women's cycles because it comes along with just talking about periods in general, even though there's, 3 other weeks of that month that are not your period.
We definitely needed women to raise it.
Yeah, because men are like, please don't say that. And it's about just breaking that. And
I think actually it's more about if men were raising it, women would be like, what the fuck?
Yeah. How dare you talk about my period?
How dare you talk about that? So it's great that you're raising it.
It's just talking about it. In my last business, I spoke about it loads. And the more you talk about it, the more it normalizes. And, it's a male-dominated industry that I work in. And speaking to men about it, they get a little bit uncomfortable. The collar gets a little tighter. But actually it's then saying, oh, go and speak to your girlfriend about it. And then that spreads, and that's kind of what we need.
How much of the month would you say you go into, let's just say that you do 5 meetings a week, which are every week, okay?
Yeah.
How much of the week do you go in where you're conscious of the cycle you're in and where you're having to manage that in those meetings? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it's probably about half the month. So your luteal phase is the week before your period, which is like your lowest kind of, it's where you want to almost just retreat. They call it like the winter. You can compare it to seasons.
Yep.
So luteal is kind of, your winter phase going into menstruation. So you've got your autumn and your winter, your summer and your spring, follicular ovulation, energy's high. You want to be social. You want to get out. You want to go into a meeting and ask for your pay rise, all of that kind of stuff. But the other 2 weeks, your body's preparing to shed. So it's literally half your cycle.
And because it's mad, isn't it? You're talking to me, it's a fucking alien. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like...
And that's common.
Yeah. And it's not that I don't get the cycle. I understand that. I witness it. I've experienced it, like a firsthand. But have I really factored that into how women leaders in our leadership teams are having to think about, or that they're having to navigate that, consciously navigate it? So you're saying for 2 weeks of a month, you are having to not only execute your set of meetings, but you're having to think how that might be impacting you. So you might be a bit too aggressive or short-fused,
or too emotionally driven, or just maybe I'm not even giving it the passion and the attention it deserves.
And is that because you've become aware of it, or do you think that all women, or the majority of women, are having to do that? They're just subconsciously doing it because they're on that cycle.
I think a lot of women that are not tracking their cycle will go through the motions and will react on things because it's happening and they're not monitoring it. But the women that are aware are thinking, oh, right, okay, I know what's happening here. I feel like this because of this. What they do with that might be wrong. Some people are going to look at it and go, yeah, well, I don't care. Yeah, I am on my period. I'm going to take that person's head off. Yeah. They might still just action it. But a lot of women now, and I'm speaking to lots and lots of women that are very conscious of it. People say to me, oh, I need to have this conversation with this person. When should I do that? And like your thinking skills, your creativity, it's all different at different parts of your cycle.
Incredible. And look, it's relevant because I continually think about being the best version of myself, right? Mm-hmm. And so I, don't drink because I constantly think about how that might impact a meeting the next day. Mm-hmm. So I'm going through that constant evaluation of being the best version of myself.
Yeah.
And so to think that you're having to do that I'm able to mitigate those things, mm-hmm. right? So I can go, I just won't drink.
Yeah.
Won't have the problems. Yeah.
Yep.
I'll go to bed at night.
Yep.
I won't drink coffee in the morning. I'll sleep better the next day. I'll be great shape to see Hayley today.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll exercise in the morning. Have no coffee the day before. Go to bed at 10 o'clock. Wake up at 7. Do some more exercise. Mm-hmm. Maybe get a vitamin shot.
Yeah.
Come in to Hayley. I know I'm going to be. Yeah. I got a 98% chance. Like, great form.
Yep.
You guys are having to actually go, well, if I really want to be the best version of myself, I wouldn't do that meeting at that point in the month. Mm-hmm. And so if it has to happen in that point in the month, I'm going into it and going, right, I need to now start to manage myself and my situation.
Yeah.
It's almost like an unavoidable hangover.
Yeah. And then we've got all of the things you've just said that you do. We then have to make those choices too. So, I also need to think your alcohol and your cycle also go hand in hand. Drinking at certain points of your cycle likely to have those impacts the next day stronger. So drinking around your period, like the alcohol effect's going to be worse. So like we have to navigate all of the stuff that you're navigating plus this in the background too. But once you've been doing it a while, it kind of just becomes second nature. But we're not taught it. So we have to like learn about it. And unfortunately, we're learning about it a little late at the moment.
Yeah. And I sound shocked by this. I guess it's just when I start to think about, the reason I sound shocked about it is because it's all stuff I guess I know. But my point is, it's when I think about, the shock is the aspect of how much better I could have been at supporting and navigating people through those journeys and being conscious of it. Imagine if we all knew. That'd be great.
It would be. Yeah, even in terms of personal relationships, I always say, I've got male friends that are like, oh, it's that time of the month, she's being a nightmare. And instead of that, it's like, right, okay, what can we do to support that? Actually, don't plan this then, do it then, and leverage that time. And it was just a hack. It's just a massive life hack for everybody.
Yeah, but I can immediately go to our leaders, and sorry about this, Larissa, I'm calling you out here, but I can immediately go to her and go, by the way, Larissa, I can go out tomorrow and go, Larissa, work out if this affects you, and however it does affect you, I give you complete autonomy to reshuffle your meetings in this month to reflect what's best for you.
Yeah. And see how differently that then works.
Yeah, but it just makes sense, right? That's an easy thing to do, but I've never done it.
And I'm sure you're not the only one. Like I said, it's all new. It's really up and coming at the moment.
I guess the point is that it's the fact that you're prepared to raise the awareness of it. Mm-hmm. As we said before, if I turn around and said to someone without having someone to facilitate that, it's just taboo for me to go, by the way, structure your meetings around your menstrual cycle. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, what are you, that can be immediately implied as to what are you saying?
Yeah.
Are you discriminating against me?
100%.
So it's a fine line there, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
How does particularly a male leader, I guess female as well, because they could be seen as being, as being discriminative. How do they tread that path? Because there is a fear, right? If I raise that, is someone also have the ability to raise it and go, are you saying that you're going to treat me differently because I'm a lady.
Yeah.
So, which is absolutely a vulnerability of this, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's all about open communication. It's quite similar to in a previous role, we rolled out menstrual leave, which is in most of Europe, it's statutory. We haven't got that here, but it was rolling that out to empower women up to 10 days a year. So that was 1 day per cycle, roughly, where, for women with endometriosis or severe conditions, they could take the day off.
Okay.
And all the men were like, yeah, sounds great. How do we manage this? Are you going to come and just have these conversations? And I was like, no, you guys are going to have these conversations. And it was this thing of, what if I say the wrong thing? But it's literally men or women saying, we're trying to understand this. And if you don't understand it at all, it's saying that, look, it's not something I've got experience of, but I'm hearing that there's amazing evidence about, supporting your cycles. And actually what I didn't realize is so many women are suffering and feel like they have to suffer in silence. Right. Let's have a conversation about it. And if that lady doesn't want to, they can just say, no, it doesn't impact me, or I don't get periods, or whatever it might be. But if they do, which a lot of them will be very interested to have the conversation, they will then tell you what they feel you need to know. Actually, I don't suffer from it, but at this point, I will be super anxious, or whatever it might be.
That's the killer question, isn't it? It needs to be positioned that if you feel this affects you, the door is open.
Yeah.
For us to talk about it.
Yeah.
We recognise that it might not affect you at all, but it could also be something you want to talk about. That's the key.
That's the key.
That's the key possession, really emphasising that you don't identify this as a problem.
Yeah. So we're not saying it's a problem. We're flexible, but we are aware that some women will find benefit in, rearranging their diaries or whatever that might be.
What percentage? So we've got a team of 100 women across your businesses. What percentage of them are going to want to open, in your opinion, are going to want to open that door and step through it and have a conversation
about rearranging their diaries?
Yeah, about wanting to. What percentage are going to go? Do you know what? That's not something as an issue to me. I'm cool.
I would say 50% would want to jump at it straight away.
Really?
I think there'd be 25% that are interested but would be worried that it would be held against them. And then 25% that are just, maybe they're on some kind of contraception, or they don't get periods, or they don't get impacted.
Yes.
So they'll be like, no, I'm cool. But if I need to, what I found is that women say, look, I don't need it, but it's so good to know that you guys have this. And it's just knowing it's there.
Because it's not, my understanding of it as well, that landscape does change, doesn't it? So it can be, people can go through more difficult times and then it can ease off.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
They might change their contraception and maybe they want to go natural. Lots of women are choosing to go natural now. Right. So contraceptives do mask a lot of the symptoms of turbulent cycles. Right. So a lot of women, when they do go down that natural journey, if they've been, on the pill for 15 years, then it could get turbulent. So
what's the movement for natural? Talk to me about that.
Lots of women are just feeling empowered to look after their bodies, look after their health. And there's been lots of things coming out about the impact of long-term use of hormonal contraceptives. They're obviously a fake hormone in your body. They stop you ovulating. They stop nature doing its thing. And there's lots of apps now that, by tracking your cycle, act as a contraceptive, I guess. And lots of women, I think I've got nearly 3,500 followers on my Instagram that we talk about this stuff. And so many women are like, yep, I'm coming off of it. Never felt better. Doctors prescribe hormones for, if a woman is suffering with acne, or like my friend's currently got back pains, and they're like, yeah, just put the coil in and it will stop your back pain. And it's like, why would put these hormones in let's deal with the root of the problem. Same with acne. It's like, what can we do what's your diet like, and those sorts of questions instead of contraceptives. And a lot of women are feeling empowered to take charge of that.
I wonder whether there's this kind of becoming a bit more of the awareness of the pharmaceutical industry is becoming greater and greater. It's discussed particularly on podcasts, maybe not mainstream news as much, but on podcasts it's a real thing, isn't it, about people becoming much more conscious of what they're putting into their bodies and realizing that, I think there's, like, when I look at the kind of food industry and the pharmaceutical industry, I think that in the US they have 600 ingredients which are banned in Europe, which are allowed in American food, which are all used in kind of fast food to make it addictive or whatever. And you just think about the fact that the level of sponsorship that there is on these pharmaceutical companies and food.
And there's so many things exposing them now. So it's like certain health brands, and it's like if you dig all the way down, they're sponsored by these pharmaceutical companies. Or, you know, I think I saw something once at McDonald's, if you filter it all the way back, pharmaceuticals was in there. And I've spent a lot of time in the US over my last 2 roles.
Right.
And everyone's like, oh, you must love the US, but I hate being in the US because I hate the food. And, you know, you're walking down the kind of supermarket aisle and there's, oh, here's your non-antibiotic chicken and here's your normal chicken. And it's like, does that say antibiotic chicken in this side? So, yeah, it's huge. Particularly, yeah, I wouldn't want to live permanently in America.
It's fucked, isn't it? Like, how can they go through that? It's like almost like we're going to give you a healthy version of the chicken and an unhealthy one. Which one do you want to pay for? Like,
and this one's really cheap. So that's where the poverty comes in again, because actually it costs a lot more to eat healthy. Even in this country, you know,
yes.
A Happy Meal is going to be a lot cheaper than
going to the organic
going to an organic shop to get a chicken breast and salad.
And so you think that this movement towards natural contraception is actually to do with the awareness of all this.
Yeah, and I think the health space is becoming much bigger in general. People are, whether they're doing boot camps or they're going on retreats, like just wellness in general, which I think is amazing to see.
It is, and you just need it to filter right the way down through the system, because what you say is the issue is that, you know, disposable income is reducing. Things are getting tighter for households. There's no doubt about that. Energy prices are rising. Cost of living is rapidly increasing. We're seeing more people, unemployment rise. Yeah. It's tough. It's a really fucking tough place. And guess what? You know, like you just said, cost saving is going to lead to compromising on these things for health. Fast food's so fucking cheap.
Yes.
So the regulators and the government just have a serious responsibility to get their shit in order when it comes to that. And I think we've seen lots of positive stuff around like calories being put on, and sugar levels.
Yeah, and the kind of RAG system, and there's definitely movements towards it. And I know that the UK introduced sugar tax, and so there's bits of movement, but ultimately for, you know, families that are in crisis at Ladbroke Grove, where I'm originally from, there are so many food banks and they're running out of food. I know people that I went to school with that are having to go to food banks, and they are working. So it's not that, oh, they're just on this benefit. They just don't have enough money to cover their bills, pay for their child to go to nursery and have food. Yeah. And they're having to choose between, you know, in the wintertime, do we have heating or shall we eat? Like, it's massive.
And that's where, that's where the majority of the population is.
Yeah.
We can't just keep talking about those guys and with greatest respect, you know, you're pioneering this communication. People need to do that, right? Yeah. And it's going to start with those 3,000 guys on Instagram. They are starting to create a movement and influence and increase education. And we need as many people to do that as possible, because it will feed down. Yeah. But we just need as much support, a wider place. And that's why we got involved in the education space many years ago. You're aware of that with LifeWise, you know, in the PSHE space, because just the practical level of education for people at primary school level to know what is good and bad, and, you know, we're addressing mental health and social media, risks of social media awareness, this kind of stuff, also leads into PSHE health, right? So it's a huge opportunity to influence the country, but it needs to happen.
Yeah, it really does. And so many schools choose not to put PSHE on the curriculum, as you know, which was always a struggle when I was at Islington. It was trying to convince schools to put that on the curriculum.
Which is now mandatory.
Yes.
As of 3 years ago. You leave university.
Yep.
Complete it in psychology.
Yep.
Where do you go next?
Islington Council.
Right.
So initially with the Healthy Schools team, which was obviously PSHE wasn't mandatory then. Yep. So it was all about, we were writing policies as well for the borough. So I co-wrote the mental health policy that was delivered to all schools in Islington at the time. So yeah, all of that stuff around Healthy Schools was a program that schools could become accredited. So you bronze, silver, gold, Healthy Schools. So as part of that work, I did targeted interventions in secondary schools. I did parent workshops around sex and relationship education. I did kind of targeted social media stuff with young people that were vulnerable to using that and getting into some problems. And it was through doing the work with those young people in batches at schools, I met a colleague elsewhere in the council who said, you would be great working with us in the social service space. So it was kind of the step before a child would end up in social care. It was called the Islington Family Intensive Team. Okay. So it was like families that had hit at least 2 of these 6 criteria, which were all pretty heavy criteria. Most of the families hit all 6 around crime, domestic violence, drug use, attendance, police involvement. And so we worked with families, a small caseload of families, each person, and we almost became a family member. It was very intense. So I'd go to school meetings with the young person. Some of them, I was picking them up in the morning to get them to school because they were targeted in gang stuff. So I was making sure they got to school safe, going to the social care meetings with some of them that were about to be removed from the family's care, trying to advocate for the parents or the young people, going to the police station if they'd been arrested. It was like real becoming a family member in that. And I did that for a few years. And then one day I got a call from Paul Brown and I ended up in recruitment.
Amazing. From one step to the next.
From one step to the next. I think I just got to a point in my career. I was quite young, late 20s. And in the industry I was in, so in the public sector, there wasn't really a pathway for me next. And yeah, I just, Paul had found my CV, a really old CV actually, right, from when I'd been looking for an admin job at uni. Okay. Found that and he was like, oh, we're looking for an ops manager. It was super random, but I've always been one to be like, everything happens for a reason. Yep. Went in for an interview, met Geeta, and that was it. Recruitment, I came, yeah.
Absolutely. And you had a really positive impact. And like we said earlier, at that point in time, the business was taking off, starting to really grow. And Geeta got her arms around it. She worked very closely with Richard.
Yep.
The group itself was starting to grow actually as well. And and one of our challenges was actually managing that high performance culture, because it was a pretty unique culture in that business, wasn't it?
Very, very. I've never met or come across another culture the same.
How would you describe it? Why was it different?
The energy was unmatched. There was so much energy in those offices. And actually I look back now and we were in 5 days a week, which seems bizarre now, but we loved it. We were in at 8 and most of us would stay late just because it became such a tight-knit family culture. There was so much energy. It was a bit wacky. There was always something random going on. And obviously I'd come from the public sector. So I remember once Geeta saying, oh, order these pens. And I was like, oh, can't they just bring their own pens? Because I'd come from a completely different sector. And she was like, no, just that box, get them, branded, about £500. I was like, oh, pens? Oh my goodness. Like we can't say, like, it was such a culture shock for me. Yes. But I could see it inspired me massively. I thought, oh my God, all these people, they're younger than me and they're doing so well. And it gave me a hunger and a drive. And just, got to meet really different people that hadn't been around before, because they'd come from like most of them Essex and Kent. And I was just such a central London girl. And it just gave me the platform to grow as well. I found a love for HR there. And that's where I started studying my CIPD, back to studying again in a different route. But I think that a common denominator is that I've always been people focused. It's always been speaking to people, hearing people, actually hearing their voice. And then whether that was in the social care settings and saying, no, this child wants this is what they're saying, this is what we need to work on. Or in a corporate space where it's like, actually, no, what our employees are saying is this. And if we don't get this right, we're going to lose them. So it translated over quite nicely. People always like, oh, it's such a big change. But actually there was a lot of common themes. Yes, yeah.
People focused, absolutely. Which is an amazing skill to have, and actually the benefits of being, focusing on psychology gives you a platform to go into many different kind of fields. Great. And so you then absolutely started to shape the organisation with Geeta from an ops and a HR perspective. And we've covered obviously that then in 2018 you have this diagnosis.
Yeah.
And how long did that impact you, do you think? You were back up and running. How long?
Pretty quick.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
So obviously I'd struggled with the symptoms, I guess, for about 9 months in the working space. Didn't really take too much time off, but I came in not in a very good condition, I guess. But it's because I loved work. I actually did love work. I didn't want to be at home. But Geeta was always saying, you look a little bit pale today. What's going on? And I was, everyone just knew I had something wrong with my stomach, but no one knew what it was. And then from diagnosis, I think I came into work the next day and everyone was like, what are you doing here? And I started breaking the news to someone. A few of the guys, I wanted to do it myself. But 5 days later, I had my surgery. I remember actually coming around from surgery and Richard being on FaceTime. Right. And I was groggy, but I remember him like just seeing his head like that, and the whole office was in the back like, yay! And I've literally just woken up with all these tubes. Like that's how much of an amazing culture it was there. And then I think about a week later, I went back into the office, but everyone was super like, oh, you okay? Why are you here? But I needed that. I needed to, me personally, and I love work. I love my career. I've always been that person. So I wanted that network. I wanted to go in and see all the lads and, you know, see Geeta and see Richard. I wanted to see like my network. Yeah. So yeah, I wasn't down and out for very long.
You really weren't. And I just keep telling you just how inspiring the way you dealt with it, the way you managed it, and the way you got back into it was just incredible. And what's amazing is that gave you the platform to then take your career on. And obviously in late 2019, 2020, we had the challenge with the business, which we don't need to go into a huge amount of detail, but we take accountability for that. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
And
it's all part of the journey.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And there are things that I could have done differently, and more support I could have provided that business at that point in time, and I accept that. And the one part of that journey I look back on is that. And you can give me great objectivity on this, but I think that we went above and beyond what most businesses do with their staff in terms of development, coaching, training, providing a platform to empower people to be the best version of themselves. Yeah. We also, if there were malign actors, we would get rid of them so that people had an environment where they could trust the people around them. Yeah. They were surrounded by good people with common values, which some people look at as being ruthless. I look at it as the responsibility of a leader to provide all the good people with more good people with common values to surround them with. And so what I look back there on is that level of investment is what best prepared the people in the company at that moment in time with the opportunity to go off and do incredible things. Yeah. You've since gone on to work in 2 other major recruitment businesses. How does that platform compare, do you think, to the rest of the industry that we provided?
Like I said earlier, I don't think I've ever met or come across a culture that we had. I think people chase it, but it just doesn't seem replicable. I think that part of that might actually be the way of work, and the world of work has changed. Like I said, that always being in the office 5 days a week, that isn't even a thing anymore. And you've got, you know, a new wave of talent coming through who want very different things. So the things that we valued when we were at that business, you know, these new people coming through and starting out their careers, they don't necessarily want that. I think the 2 businesses I've worked at since, very different. One was very around diversity and much of a more wholesome, softer platform. Yep. And the more recent one was a little bit more in terms of the ruthlessness, I guess. So both quite different, but doing very different things. The last business I was at has a vision, like I said, quite a ruthless vision that they're absolutely going for. But are they adapting with the times? Maybe not as well as they could be. But also I worked at a business that was completely different, where it was all about flexibility. And I think they went on a bit of a journey in terms of, okay, maybe we need to bring a little bit more of the old school back. And I think a lot of businesses are struggling to find that balance, actually. It's between people want flexibility and they want, you know, what are we doing? What's our corporate social responsibility? What are we doing there? Versus actually some people crave the office and need the structure. But can you attract both at the same time? And I think lots of businesses are struggling with that.
Do you think you can recreate what we had in Chapman Black? Do you think that's achievable if you provide the right infrastructure, the right DNA, the right training support? You get the hiring. You're incredibly, because some of the stats were incredible from a hiring perspective. We analyze those, and we make we'd have 120 telephone interviews, 40 face-to-face interviews to 1 hire. It was an unmatched, and at one point I think we had 50 or 60 staff and 20 people in internal recruitment. Yeah. Because we used to have a kind of training bay which all focused. Do you remember how many people we had just on internal recruitment?
Literally, yeah.
And so people, that no one has that level, that scale of focus. No. And I think that's that. If I look at that business, that was the unique structure which enabled us to get, because I would look at that business and say there were more high performance sales guys. The density of top performing salespeople was absolutely unmatched to any other business. The top 20% or 10% of 99% of other sales floors was the bar probably of the top 60%.
Yeah.
Or 70% in that business. Does that resonate? Or do you think, tell me if it's bullshit.
No. And I think lots of places, they may not say it directly, but they do try to replicate that. They might not say we're trying to be like that business, but in less words, they are trying to get that. And I've not seen it be done again. Yes. But I do bring it back to that wave of people we had that were kind of fresh in their careers and then were building with us. They started at a time when, coming into the office was a norm. I don't even think work from home was a thing. Like no one had even heard of that.
No, absolutely.
I remember Geeta giving me a laptop and saying, oh, well, if you have an appointment, do you want to just log on from home? And being like, how can I do my job from home? Like that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, so
whereas now I think that people can try and do that, but it's all that investment into it. Like we had an amazing office space. We invested in that stuff. If you don't have the people that want to come in, it's falling flat. But then you're not necessarily going to get the senior hires because senior hires want flexibility because everyone's had this flexibility now. They're like, well, you're not going to take it away. So I think it is really hard to, even if we was to just replicate that again, you'd get the grumbles of, well, I don't want to be in the office. I don't want to, people are not drinking alcohol or they don't want to go on socials, or there's this thing now of don't spend too much time with your colleagues, have a life outside of work. But what we had beautifully there is everyone did everything together. And so, there was that space. Whereas now I've seen it a lot. Oh, with an incentive, you're going to have half the people say, well, what if I don't want to be physical? Or what if I want to do this? Half the people want to have drinks and that's what they see as a reward. The other half want to go on a hike and the other half want to do this. And it's so hard to strike that balance now with all these characters in a business.
But have you met anybody? And tell me, I know you will. I know you'll be honest, which is great. But have you met anybody who's as perceptive and clear about their values around top performing salespeople as Geeta? Does that make sense? Like, because I look at her and I think she's exclusively responsible for, identifying that you had that same radar. Yeah. And so she moved you from ops into HR and backed that and supported it as an random example. Yeah. But she spotted that in you. Moved you very quickly. Yeah. Supported you in that transition. Yeah. So that's, for me, her perceptiveness, that radar for the right people, I think is really responsible for creating that culture.
Yeah, no, I've never met anyone like Geeta in a leadership position. I've met some amazing leaders in so many different ways that have different strengths. But like you said, Geeta was able to have that personal relationship with almost everyone. I don't know how she managed it, but also kind of pull key traits out of them before anyone else could even see them. She would go into interviews sometimes and be like, that person would be good at this. Yeah. And it's like, how do you know that? And she'd be right every time. Every time. Or she'd say like, that person's not going to work here. Yeah. And we would still give people a fair chance. Yeah. She would, I think that what's going to happen is they're going to join and they'll feel like this, or they won't enjoy this part of the work. And she was right every single time. Yeah. So yeah, hats off to Geeta.
Yes. And I would back her. And you tell me if I'm wrong here, but I would back her to replicate that culture in an office 5 days a week if you wanted to do it, even in today. And I would suggest that it would be 5 or 10 times harder. Yeah. But I still think she could do it.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think she'd interview people and she'd know who had that in them, like straight away, like I think there still are pockets of people that do want to be in the office. There are some companies that say work from home, but the people go in, they want the structure. Yep. And I think what we're probably seeing now is it's returning. It's kind of going full circle a little bit. People might still need a little bit of flexibility to pick up their kids here and there, but that kind of huge, I want to be work from home all the time, that is changing. And I think that Geeta would be able to fish out the people that need the structure and would want to be in the office and would thrive in that environment.
Do you know, I read something a little while ago, and I love creating principles from things to me which seem make logical sense and implementing them and using them. What they said was that A players only hire A or maybe B players. B players will hire B players and maybe C players.
Yeah.
And so it's super important to find the best people that have got a radar for top talent.
Yeah.
And so, and it's just the way that they said, like the kind of A players will only hire A, maybe a B. And I'm like, yeah, if I end up with a business which is 80% A players and a few B, I'm in great shape.
Yeah. Definitely.
And so what I've done there is I literally just looked at it and went, do you know what, I'm going to restructure my team. And even if that means that, and actually simplify, whereas I had this kind of really inclusive, let's get everyone in for a view.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't think that's it. I think actually there are people out there which have got really strong radars for exactly what they need.
Yeah.
And what you need to do is back that and not dilute it. And so what we do is we then go, what are the areas that, or values that we feel are a minimum? So let's just say the radical honesty piece, or it might be the ability to collaborate.
Yeah.
You guys, when you meet, you can come and meet these people before they start. Spend half an hour taking for a coffee.
Yeah.
You check that they're going to hit these 2 or 3 criteria, but we're going to leave the high performance decision making to someone who's absolutely got a radar for it.
Yeah.
It's so important because it's, and I see it in some of the businesses that I'm involved with, that it's become so much more difficult to find the right talent.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, it really, really is now.
And have you seen that in your last 2 places? Really getting
and getting the right people with the right set of values in, whilst also trying to navigate the needs of the workforce now.
Yes.
It's been tough because you also are trying to make sure you're not discriminating, make sure you're like looking in the right places, but you've got your minimum standards, and there's just so many things that you've got to be mindful of now.
Yeah, and the way I look at it is that Gen Z just has more diverse interests.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Yeah,
and you've just got to speak to those interests in some way.
Yes. Yeah, you have to. But I think that whereas, you roll this back 30 years, right? You'd have no idea about this, but 30 years ago, you were interested in sport or something you'd done in your degree or art. You were kind of a creative. Yeah. You're an academic. You're a sports guy. You're kind of...
Yeah, one of the few categories.
Yeah, that is like, 4 or 5 people. But today, the amount of content that these guys are consuming. And the issue is, it's really funny that, but I had a guy working with me the other day, and he came and done a bit of an internship, and I asked him to research these businesses. And he said to me, I said, can you research this AI business and tell me who the market leaders are? Anyway, he then told me after a little while, he goes, Ezra, every company I'm researching is absolutely thriving. I can see them everywhere. I'm like, mate, no, you can't. It's when you do the research, they're starting to follow you around. Yeah. Right. And so what happens is you're getting people which are being followed around by specific traffic, and that becomes their norm. Yep. So if you happen to, be in religious area, or if you're particularly interested in a particular part of robotics or spirituality or whatever, all of a sudden you can be in a cosm that, you're surrounded by that. That's the world. Yeah, and that becomes, but the point is that whereas it was just generally sport, you're now, actually, I'm really interested in this spiritual journey in particular area of health, or particular type of exercise, or a particular niche of diet. Yep. And now my whole world is about being a carnivore and how it changes the body. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And people become consumed by it. Yeah. And so then how the fuck do you then tap into? And they become very connected to that. And that, but I think that trying to get those people to emotionally connect to this vision that we've got in recruitment, when they're connected to, this spiritual journey that people are transforming their lives, and it's whatever. It's very difficult to get people to buy in, and you're going, well, this is really important. They go, well, fucking, you haven't seen this. This is much more fucking important.
Yeah, because it has become their world, and that, you know, people full force believe in, you know, that those journeys that they're on, and if anything doesn't align with it, it is a generation that goes, that doesn't align with me, I'm good.
Yeah.
Whereas I think that generations before, it was get yourself a good job, make sure you've got it, make sure you've got a 9 to 5, make sure you're settled. Whereas people leave their jobs a lot quicker now. If it's not meeting my needs, I'm going somewhere else. There is that fluidity.
They're just not emotionally attached to it, are they?
Not at all. You know, I came from a space where it's like, you got to do at least X amount of years in your job. You don't just leave your job.
Yeah.
You can't just do that. But they're not emotionally attached to it at all. They look after themselves and what they're interested in, and does it align? Is it always the right decision? Probably not. I think sometimes they jump without thinking things through. But once again, social media is not helpful for that, because there's so many. You open your phone and it's just leave. You know, you don't want to do that. Just leave. Follow your spirit or whatever. And that's not always. You know,
it's purpose driven. It really is, isn't it? And that's what I think people have got to really tap into. Is if you're building a recruitment company or any other business today, you've got to be really thoughtful about what your purpose really is. And you have to I think you have to take it a different way. You have to kind of look at your purpose through a different lens, and you can do, right? You can look at helping someone's career, or you can look at how much revenue you're going to impact, or the change that industry is making that you're serving, whatever it is. But I think you do have to think about, how are you positively contributing? What's the social impact of what you're doing?
Yeah, social impact is huge now.
Yeah, because I've got to find people which, it's kind of 2 layers, isn't it? It's one, I've got to find people which have got the skills, the resilience, determination, or whatever it is to do what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Then I've got to try and find and align people with a purpose that I've defined, where actually these guys go, oh, actually I work for this recruitment company or sales organization or tech business because I'm consumed by the climate narrative, and this business is exclusively trying to improve climate. Yeah. And I've got, you've really got to look at it from.
Yeah, you really do. And it's, you know, what does your business offer? A lot of Gen Z in particular now, when they're looking at a employee value proposition, it's, you know, do you do charity days? Can I go and volunteer? What charities are you partnered with? What are you doing around diversity? They'll ask for your diversity metrics. They'll say, well, okay, it's pretty low here. What are you going to do about that? And you've got to be ready to have those answers as well.
Yes. People are so aware. I spoke to someone the other day and someone asked me about something, and I went, well, what hours do you work? And they just went, oh, I'm a 9 to 5 girl. And I was like, okay. It was the first time ever on some, you know, where people kind of like dance around it a little bit, or kind of like, the candidate is feeling out whether where you are. More, They were like really promoting the fact, oh, I'm a 9 to 5 girl. Yeah, I just love getting all my work done in that period of time and having all this other time to do all these other things. I've got loads of other interests. I'm like, oh, okay, fucking thank you. Let me know. Do you know what I mean? I love that. Clear. Yeah. Like, you know, and so, but for me, that was, and what was really interesting is I went through that journey, and with that candidate, super talented, and I'd love her to have joined our team. But fundamentally, I said to her, the issue is that everything you're telling me is that you don't want to be emotionally connected to what I'm doing. Yeah. And that's cool. Thank you for being so transparent and explicit about that. And I don't know if they realize sometimes that they're missing out on that opportunity. Yeah. Because actually, if you can get a group of people which are emotionally attached to the mission, you've seen the benefit of it. Yeah.
There's such a benefit, because otherwise it's so transactional otherwise.
Yes.
How do you build that culture? You know, like I said at Chapman Black, that culture was there. We enjoyed each other's company.
Yes.
We checked in on, and I think that's a testament to how many of them I'm still connected to now. Gone holidays with some of them. But if you're just doing a transactional, we go into work, and do we go into work? Is it most of us are from home, don't really see you that much, have never been out of you outside of work. Yes. Everyone just leaves their separate lives. Then there's no emotional attachment. And then how does any business execute a mission? Because these people are just going to drop in and out.
But this links into a thread that has continued from that time in Islington, hasn't it? There's a community interest.
Yep. Kayleigh's dream. So
Yes.
I joined forces with two incredible men last year,
Right.
Kevin and Jade. And Kayleigh's dream is a crime prevention service.
Yes.
So delivering workshops to vulnerable, at-risk young people, kind of the ages 10 to 25, in schools, youth offender institutions, anywhere we can get into, youth clubs, anywhere that those people might be in the community. And Kevin himself, he been involved with the criminal justice system since he was 13. He spent 8 years in prison. I think it's 11 prisons he's been in.
Wow.
And he met Jade when Jade was getting him ready to come out into the world and be rehabilitated. That was Jade's role. That's what Jade does. And actually Kevin said, you know, the impact this has had on my mum and my family, I never knew prison would do this. And Kayleigh is actually Kevin's mum's name, so that's why it's called Kayleigh's dream.
Right.
And he was like, yeah, I want to go and talk to young people about this. And we basically get Kevin to deliver workshops alongside Jade, talking about the real consequences of entering that system, and getting young people to think about the before part of crime, like the different pathways they have, alternate pathways. What happens actually if you do that? What does it look like entering the criminal justice system? What does it look like when you get arrested? What does it look like if you're held in a cell? And the real, what prison life is really like, because it's being glamorized a lot at the moment. TV shows glamorize it. Instagram, you've got people in prison that are doing selfies and videos and rapping, and they're like, yeah, look, I've got a PlayStation, I've got this, I've got all these things. So it looks, you know, young people are looking at that and saying, weighing up a risk of committing a crime, it's okay, I can do a little bit in prison, but that's not the reality of the day to day. And we find that young people love Kevin because he's relatable, he's authentic, he's done it. And yeah, we're just trying to get to as many young people as possible to help them see that there's different ways, whether that's into sport, whether that's into an apprenticeship, something that they're passionate about, volunteering somewhere, getting a job, whatever it might be, just before they commit. And that's what our program that we roll out is called. It's called the Before You Commit program.
Is this, and the reason for this is because young offenders aren't aware of the consequences. Is that what you think? You mentioned this glamorization of it.
Yeah.
Is that the real challenge here?
We think that that's a huge part of the challenge, that it's being glamorized. When we're speaking to young people, they're saying, yeah, that prison's fine. It's fun. It's just a bit of time away. And it's like they're not really understanding that actually once you've got that on your record, how are you going to get a job? For some of them that are gang affiliated, the safety of their family, because you're in prison. But actually, unfortunately, the truth is that some of these people then might owe drug dealers money and they're going to target your mum now. So now your mum, your brother, your sister's unsafe. Not thinking about that wider impact. We did a survey in Camden with just 40 young people that were taking part in our workshops. Right. And we asked them, if you had to go to prison for 2 years, but you got £1,000 because you've stolen £1,000, would you do it? So £1,000, 2 years in prison. And 37 of the 40 said yes, they would do 2 years in prison for £1,000. Wow. So
that is incredible.
Yeah.
And so what you're talking about there describes something that I'm absolutely fascinated about, which is the growth of crime in London.
Yeah.
And so the joke is that we don't really know how big that is either, because I reckon they think somewhere between like 25 and 50% of crimes are only reported. So that's anywhere between 50 and 75% are unreported. And if you look at that, I think it's some ridiculous, something like, I think it's like 70,000 mobile phone thefts a year.
Yeah.
If that's only 25%, I think bikes theft is 25%. So basically only 25% of bikes that get stolen are actually reported. So if the same happens in mobiles, you're talking about anything. 250,000.
Yeah, it's huge.
That's like, what is that? It's like 5,000 a week, mobile phones being stolen. And you're kind of raising the alarm bell here to say that, well, the reason this is growing, and I mean, it's exponential growth. Yeah.
And it's because the consequences are not clear. They think that they can just do it. And then if it's kind of catch me if you can. Right. If you do catch me, am I going to go to prison? Am I that bothered if I do go? It's going to be a nice life in there. It's not that difficult. But they're not thinking about that wider impact on, you know, your mum who's at home on her own and her mental health. If you get put in prison, I don't know, miles away, not having any visits, not seeing anyone. So it's like those wider consequences as well as the like going and sitting in a jail cell.
Wow.
Yeah.
It sounds like there's an opportunity there for the government to really tap into that, whether it's, you know, sponsoring some sort of Netflix series that kind of resonates with that audience.
Yeah.
But really doesn't glamorize because we've seen that adolescence, haven't we? That, you know, the adolescence,
Yes.
Which has been an incredible kind of highly impactful television series. Just wonder whether there's an opportunity to do the similar kind of thing to raise a level of awareness by tapping in and providing something that's relevant to the audience, delivering that message for the young offenders, because it's just bullshit, isn't it? Like you've just said. I mean, how big an impact does going inside have on these? Like, some from your experience, how bad or big?
It's huge, and a lot of them might go in for, you know, what we might refer to as like a petty crime,
right?
But they come out, because of the experience in there, they can come out a lot more hardened, and they actually make networking in there quite easy. So this kid goes in and he's grabbed a phone because he just thought he could get a bit of cash, but now, you know, he's just spent X amount of months with a ringleader, and now when he gets released, he's now been recruited. It's like looking at exploitation. We're doing workshops now for women as well, and how women can, young women, end up in that kind of network and being exploited. Our next kind of phase is to roll out staff training in schools to identify it and to support with that, and then also parents. So really trying to attack it from all angles. We've actually started like a small film series ourselves, which we use in our workshops, called the Before You Commit. So we've done part 1, we're working on part 2. Lad Bible sponsored that first one,
right?
And yeah, so we're starting to kind of see that. We've been working with MOPAC, which is, you know, the government's team around this type of crime.
Yep.
And so yeah, it's just kind of, we're a small team, but we're small on my team, we're getting through it. And it's, you know, I think the lived experience with Kevin is what really helped, because it's, you know, me going in there and saying, oh, been working in recruitment for 9 years, don't do it, kids. This doesn't quite resonate with Kevin saying, I thought it was going to be like this, you know, these are the types of crimes I've done, and this is what I was worried about, this is what my mum went through, this is what broke my heart, this is why I'm not going back. And that certain lifestyle you might see, I don't know, a lot of kids think that, oh, I want to be part of that because I want to drive a Range Rover. They don't see all the steps in between, and that actually you're going to be a really small fish in a massive pond.
Yes.
And yeah, you know, some of these kids to get reported missing by their parents because they've been sent out of London to run county lines and stuff, and you know, they're sleeping on the floor in some like random unkept house, and they're reported missing by their parents. They can't leave, they want to go home, but now they're in danger, and once they're kind of in that, it can be much harder to get out, rather than if we can prevent them from making those choices in the first place.
With you. I mean, I've seen some frightening stats. I mean, I remember the zombie knife thing.
Yes.
And they finally outlawed these zombie knives, made them illegal. It took them forever.
Yeah.
Forever. And the most shocking stat I saw was that they then the government provided this, where you could hand your knife in and you get £8 for it, I think, or £10 for a knife. Yeah. And so what happened was, when they outlawed it, the biggest suppliers of these knives in the UK then actually had to submit their inventory. I don't know if you saw this.
I remember seeing it.
Yes. Yeah. And the biggest supplier turned up and went, right, we're going to give you all of our knives.
Yeah.
And they handed in stock of 30,000 zombie knives. And I was like, that's incredible. Like, if, let's say they rotate their stock once every 3 months.
Yeah.
Okay, that means they're selling 120,000, like 18-inch, 2-foot sword, like weapons a year. That's one supplier.
Yeah.
If they've been doing that for 3 years, right, or 4 years, there's 500,000 absolute lethal weapons from one supplier just floating around our communities.
Yeah.
Which is just mind-boggling. I mean, if you put that into kind of perspective with the inventory of the British defence, right?
Yeah.
It's probably comparable with weapons that they've got.
Yeah.
It's just absolutely mind-boggling.
Yeah.
How widespread this is and how big a problem it is.
Yeah, and just how many young people, teenagers are just walking around carrying a weapon, sometimes because they feel like they might need it to protect themselves.
Yep.
But yeah, it's huge. And I think I mentioned earlier that like so many young people are desensitized to it now because everything does go on social media and these like blogs and news pages that are trying to get all the like gossip from the local communities. And I've seen it myself loads of times. There's like, oh, look, this person's just been stabbed. And like there's footage that passers-by have taken of the incident or after, like how many mothers have had to probably see CCTV of their children dying because someone's recording it at the side of the road. But what's happening is that's on everyone's feeds. It's in those algorithms. It's following young people around. Yep. So if they listen to certain types of music and, then their feed becomes populated with this stuff, and it means they're desensitized as well. So me and you will see them go, oh my goodness, the size of that knife, or that poor young person. They're just like, oh, it's just another day. And that's a huge problem as well. And it's happening with the criminal justice system. Go into prison. It's the consequences of the violence. Yep. And yeah, it's a huge problem.
Yeah, there's also tens of thousands of knife crimes and stabbings and across London, isn't there?
I mean, that's just the reported ones.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, again, when you look at the amount of criminal activity in London compared to outside of London, it's like per head, it's like 25 times more likely per 1,000 people to be happening. It's a real issue. And I think that we look at, do you know what I think one of the biggest problems is? I don't know whether you agree with this, but I think we look at the US, a gun crime, and we kind of just go, wow, that's horrendous. There's people getting shot in masses. And it almost feels like we overlook how big a problem knife crime is.
Yeah.
Because, we're kind of being out-weaponed by what's happening.
And I've got so many friends in the US from my work there. Right. And interestingly, they all go, yeah, we've got guns, but most of us are licensed, but you guys are stabbing each other.
Yeah.
Like they look at us like, what? And actually gun crime is on the rise over here massively as well.
Right.
It's not always, doesn't always hit the media, but there's a lot of gun crime in our local communities now as well.
Are there particular communities and areas in London which are worse than others, do you feel?
Poverty-stricken areas tend to be where you might get more of the gang war stuff going on, and then that tends to be where the violence follows. Yeah, I'd say, I see it a lot in West London. I hear it a lot, being attached to the local community and having access to, hearing, oh, did you hear about that person? And oh, did you hear there was a shooting outside so-and-so's house? And it's like none of this hits the news, but gun crime is massive in these more poverty-stricken areas.
Yeah. And so it's the opposite. It's accessibility to cash, isn't it? It's the fact that the jewelry and cars. I think I was reading that like 5 or 10 Range Rovers go missing a day.
Yeah.
So if you look at it, it's 500 or 600 Range Rovers a year that are getting stolen from central London minimum. Yeah. I think those stats are underplayed.
Yeah,
that's 10 a week. But these businesses these are just being stolen, stripped for parts, flogged abroad.
Yep.
But it's cash at such. It's so accessible. A watch, for example.
Yep, a watch. Even now, kind of by Harvey Nichols, Harrods, they're just breaking into cars. So where people have gone shopping, put their bags in, breaking into cars, stealing the goods. I've been seeing, like, once again, it's seeing footage of like women coming out with their designer bags and just having them stolen straight as they've come out of Selfridges. Just anything that's going to be sold for cash. The cost, like you mentioned earlier, cost of living is going up. With that, the poverty line just increases, and people are desperate.
Someone told me that they were wearing some Gucci trainers, sat on the underground, and a girl comes up, sits next to her, and just says, "Take your trainers off." Yeah. Like what?
Yeah, it doesn't say. It's like literally anything of any value now. It's getting really out of hand.
Is the issue the consequence is not best educated, or is it actually the percentage of people which are being caught? Do you know what I mean?
I think the consequences are huge, and it marries up with having the understanding that there's alternative pathways. I think that so many young people don't see another option,
right?
Because they've grown up in these communities where maybe older brothers just people in the community are driving these nice cars, got the nice watches, and it's coming through potential crime.
Yep.
And that is what they see. And then they start having these conversations with these older people who's like, you know, come and join my team. Or
Yes.
do you want these sparkly things? And it's understanding, okay, if you do that, these are the consequences. But actually, here's some options. Or support services. There's a lot less than there used to be because cuts are made once again. When, you know, cost of living goes up, we start seeing the impact in local authorities and what they make cuts on. And they make cuts on those alternative providers of things. Yeah. And I think that support services coming together, working with each other, saying, right, okay, you've got this, you target these people, they come in here, let them know that we've got some apprenticeships over here, or, you know, joining up so that there is the provision of other things to do.
Yes.
I think that's massive.
Yeah, it's also interesting. I just wonder as well, we're seeing this exponential rise. They're talking like 30% a year or 40% a year of increases in kind of crime.
Yeah.
In these key areas that we've spoken about. And I guess I wonder whether we've reached a tipping point where the amount of crime that's happening is actually meaning that before, if you had 1,000 cases and you had 50 police officers, you know, they would catch maybe 50 criminals. Now you've got 10,000 cases and 50.
Yeah.
They're still only catching 50 people.
Yeah.
So the likelihood of you getting away with it is now 10x'd.
Yeah.
So because they're just so much more constrained.
Although technology is meaning that people are being caught in different ways.
Yes.
You know, cell site, being able to trace your phone to exactly where you were.
Yes.
So that is the people that were getting away with some of those things. They're getting caught in ways that are mind-blowing. There's so many more cameras around. You know, a few of our young people have been caught on the back of Ring doorbells going, you know, something's happened, and then the police get the Ring doorbell footage of the people that live on the street that they ran down to get away. Yes. So there's, I think it is harder for them to get caught because there's just so much of the crime happening, but police are deploying new tactics to make that a little easier.
Yes. But the issue is the volume, isn't it?
Yeah, there's so
many. They just don't have, because, I mean, how many cases are even getting followed up?
Yeah. How many are getting reported?
Yes. Well, they're not getting followed up, so they don't get reported, and it's just it's actually a continual spiral.
Yeah,
I do agree with you though, and I'm really hopeful of the impact that technology can have in this sector, AI in particular, drone technology. I really can see in you know, not so many years from now where there are drones deployed all across the roofs of London, and actually the moment that something's reported, the drones lift off, track the people around it, follow them, and that's where you then able to then it becomes way more efficient for police to then navigate to that person or whatever, as opposed to right now it's like jump on a moped. And the issue they've got to deal with is logistics of it, isn't it? Yeah. They can nick a watch off of someone's arm and just be gone on a moped into a crowd. I always think they're probably going to end up putting the delivery jacket back on, right? They're now a delivery rider halfway through London, disappeared into
it's fast.
thousands and thousands of gigger workers, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's what they've got to resolve. It's the fact that they've got to deal with, they've got to pick up that challenge. And I think that's something like you just said, that technology will get there. And I think they'll get quite, because if you see but I've seen these little drones in China where do these incredible like almost like firework displays where it's like displays and stuff.
Yes.
I mean, they're incredibly synchronous.
Yeah.
You can control these things incredibly.
Yeah.
So why can't they just have like loads of those just set up like across?
Ready to go.
Yeah, ready to go.
Yeah.
Literally, just all they need is like the sat nav on board, camera, lock on, and follow people around until they get to the bottom of. If you've got that technology deployed, then the risk of being caught goes through the fucking roof.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
But then the problem's so big, isn't it? Because our prisons are full. And, you know, people know that too.
Yes.
People are like, I might weigh this up. And, you know, some of it, like I said, it's driven by poverty. It's driven by desperation. You know, we've got young men that are watching their mum struggle, go into the food bank. You know, then that's an embarrassing thing, seeing your mum at the food bank. Right, okay, well, this guy over here just said that if I do this for him, I can make 200 quid. They're weighing up that that risk. And then, at the moment, it's like, okay, if I do get caught, will they put me in jail? The jails are full. They're making these decisions, but based on social media and word of mouth.
Yeah. But you're right there. So it's risk and need.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. Yeah. Because less people are able to afford to put food on the table.
Yeah. And a lot of them will see, maybe their mum's a nurse or something like that. Mum's always working, but there's just no food in the house, or, they haven't got the electric on, and they're like, right, especially if it's a son that's maybe the only son or the eldest son that then feels like, I've got to help here. Yeah. And, like I said, someone's provided them with an opportunity for this great money.
And you can't understand until you're in that situation just how difficult that must be to see other people walking around being wasteful with the resources that they have. People that are disrespecting the resources and things they have, whether it's eating half of baguette and chuck it in the bin or anything just around them, and they're struggling to achieve the minimum standards for their family. That's a dichotomy, and that will drive to irrational behaviour, and they should never do it, but it's understandable why they get to a place where their mental health and their peer pressure and maybe their only option, or they feel, is to do that. Yeah. And they have to just find other ways.
Yeah. And that's kind of why we're doing what we're doing, because it is that when they are deciding if they're going to take that risk, we don't feel that they're doing it with the right education on all of the consequences. They're doing it thinking it's a worth risk taken, and actually even long-term impact on how are you going to get a job if you've been to prison, and all
they're vulnerable, right? So they're mentally vulnerable at that moment in time, and so that peer pressure you're talking about, that incentive, that peer pressure and that surrounding environment that you're in, where other people are driving that car, or they are getting access to those things quicker and faster.
Yeah, and if you couple that with a lot of these people might be struggling with education, not particularly doing well at school. Maybe they're having trouble at school. They're not behaving as they should be necessarily. Yeah. So then if they're having issues there, they don't see a way of like, oh, well, I'm going to finish school and I'm going to go to uni, because that's not a path that's one for them, or they don't want to do that. So then it becomes, well, what else am I going to do? I'll just go down this route. It's glamorous. I'll be a rapper. I'll be a gang member. They have really nice stuff. And they're from where I'm from. I can relate. That we're the same race. We grew up on the same estate. That feels a lot more achievable than, going and finding a job.
Well, it's amazing that you're so invested in it. And I think it needs people like you to drive the message. And without people that are kind of taking action around these things, it's not going to get better, is it? And the government as well need to see that. They need the awareness of it. They need the pressure from the types of initiatives that you guys are doing. So hats off to you. I think it's incredible work you're doing.
Thank you.
And it's needed, desperately needed, because the flip of it is that the other issue is it's self-fulfilling, right? Which is that the wealthy are leaving the country.
Yeah.
Because standard of living is deteriorating.
Yeah.
That means that the economy shrinks.
Yeah.
Which drives the poverty line down, which increases the amount of crime.
Yeah.
And it is an absolute race to the bottom.
Yeah.
The government doesn't have the income coming in. They raise taxes. More people can't pay their bills.
Yep.
The more attractive crime looks.
Yeah.
And so it absolutely has to have a holistic kind of view in it. And it was one of the things which we were really passionate about with in our PSHE platform, that awareness piece. And with the type of thing you're doing, you're obviously a catalyst for today, but you've also, when you talk about education, it's so important getting into the grassroots of that and actually educating people. Preventative starts at a really young age.
Yeah.
The one good thing about the Gen Z guys is that they do have a moral and social higher awareness of social impact, don't they?
They certainly do.
And so our opportunity to tap into that from an education perspective is greater.
Yeah, and that's why, you know, even in primary schools, we're going in, we're getting into assemblies, we're just trying to get to young people as soon as we can, because in some communities, those decisions are being made at the age of 10 or 11. So the earlier, the better for the educational piece.
Can you help me understand why knife crime has become such a growing kind of phenomena?
Yeah, so lots of it does link to media once again, not just the social media, but if there's so many films and series that unfortunately do glamorize it. I think that they weren't intentionally doing that. It was more to show this is the reality of some of these communities, but a side product of that is it almost looks glamorized. We do have a gang issue in central London for sure. Lots of postcode wars go on, and what we've increasingly seen is it kind of innocent people getting caught up in that. So you might be a young man that's, you know, some of these postcode issues are really close. So, you know, where I'm originally from, you've got kind of Ladbroke Grove, you've got Kilburn, you've got like Queen's Park, or they call it the Mozart Estate. And these people, 5-minute drive at maximum. And, you know, you can be caught crossing over those lines. And if you're not from that local area and you're in the wrong place, wrong time, you know, unfortunately, some of these people have relatives I've got relatives in all 3 of those areas, for example, because it's a small community. And what can happen is, you know, young man might be coming over from one side to the other to visit a grandma, or he's been sent to the shop. But, you know, some of the gang affiliated people, whether it's to boost their ego or to make a point, it's like, oh, well, where are you from? Oh, I'm from over there. You're not meant to be over here. And they're kind of protecting their postcode, or sometimes it's to send a message to the other side. And then that can get put on social media. Oh, we just got one of your people. And then, you know, that young innocent person that's been potentially beaten up, stabbed, or maybe just humiliated online, that young person starts carrying a knife now because
feels vulnerable.
He feels vulnerable, and he's learned that I'm not safe. That's what he's learned. And maybe now his group of friends who have never had that experience but have seen his experience, they might not even be from these areas, but they're like, well, I better carry a knife too. You know, coming out of school, not feeling safe to get home. Does your bus have to go through a certain area? And it's they're not feeling safe. So then we're seeing more and more young people carrying knives, and they're saying it's I don't want to use it. It's just for protection. But what the stats do tell us is it's usually the person carrying the knife that dies from the knife. Because often people are, you know, they're carrying it, but do they know what to do with it? Would they want to do that? So they pull it out and it gets used against them. So yeah, it's horrible, but we're just seeing so many young people, young women too.
And so when you give that example of this young guy, he might not actually even be gang affiliated.
No.
Just happens to be from an area, gone to another area, and gets lynched basically.
Yeah, that happens quite often.
Right.
You know, and especially with people that might not even be from that local area or in that radius. It could be someone that's come down from God knows where, Kent or something, to visit a relative and been sent down the road to the shop. Not really from that area, doesn't even understand it happens. Might just be bad timing that gang of boys. And unfortunately, what can happen is they kind of showing off in front of each other.
Yes.
And it's that, you know, peer pressure, and someone might say, oh, someone should hit him or do something to him. And then they're all kind of giggling, and someone's got to do it now because it's been said. And did any of them really want to do that?
And how well organised are these gangs? Does that make sense? Do all of these gangs funnel up to the proper organised crime kind of stuff? Or is it more street, smaller gang type?
There's definitely a blend.
Right.
There's definitely a blend. And what can happen is, you know, you get kind of for show kind of street stuff that there tend to be the louder ones that are putting stuff on social media, and but there is definitely organized crime as well. Some of these street gangs evolve into more organized. We've seen time and time again with you get women that get involved, young women that might set up people from the other side. So then that's very well thought through. It's right. We know that this girl speaks to this person from this estate. Yep. We'll get her on board with us and tell her that, you know, to meet this guy for a date or whatever, and we'll all be waiting. So there's that level of organization. They call that kind of honey trapping.
Yes.
And then there's the ones that are connected to the drug lines. So there will be definitely someone leading that, and they'll send some young people out to run county lines out of London. That's a huge organised crime that happens. But then there's the more basic street level stuff where they're just kind of running around and for the fashion of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these guys don't understand, I guess, the actual consequences and impact of knife-based injuries on families and lives, the kind of consequence of their potential actions. Yeah,
they definitely don't. And I've seen that firsthand, years ago with young people that did stuff, and the trauma they then pick up as well when they've done it. Sometimes it's a decision in a split second under peer pressure, not thinking it through or not thinking anything was going to happen. Something that's happened quite commonly is, people stabbing someone in the leg and saying, I just stabbed them in the leg, I didn't want to kill them. But, you hit that major artery, that person can die.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden they're in jail for murder, and it was, I didn't even want to stab them, but everyone was saying that I should. And those consequences, they then don't think about the families. It's only when maybe it happens to their family that they realise, God, this shatters an entire family.
If you're growing up in one of those neighbourhoods today, let's say you're below, you're just meeting the poverty line, right? You're just managing to get the food, pay your bills, right? But you're right on the, using the food banks, that kind of stuff, right? And you've got a couple of young children, 10, 11 years old, 12 years old. What's the likelihood that they are going to become in contact in some capacity with these gangs on the streets in these kind of areas of the more urban areas of London?
I think that, you've got to be talking 90 to 100% to come in contact with them.
Yeah.
Whether that's just because it's their next door neighbour or friend of a friend, or like those communities are dense with it.
Right.
I firsthand know, and I've moved out of the area, but I know lots of people who are involved in gang crime. I know lots of people that are in prison. You come across it day to day.
Right.
So it's like, I'd say 90 to 100% that in contact with some way, whether it's went to school with them, neighbours, local shops.
So it's a real significant risk.
Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously the biggest channel for that is school, right? So it's, the moment that they see, you have people in older years mixing with, 14, 15-year-olds already in those gangs, start to identify the vulnerable people they can pick on throughout younger years.
And also, young people and children that are removed from mainstream school, so into pupil for referral units.
Yes.
They tend to be, a gathering. If you take all these people with maybe behavioural problems or those that are definitely more at risk of offending, take them out of mainstream school because they're causing issues, but let's put them all together in one place, and then they've got similar interests, and they start realising, oh, my brother knows your brother, and da-da-da-da-da-da. So then those kind of places can be real spots.
And Labour have said they want to try and halve knife crime in the next 10 years, which is an ambitious target.
Yeah.
Are you seeing on the streets, from the support of your KD initiative, are you seeing that support from them to achieve those types of things? So there's a disconnect between the ambition and the action.
I think the ambition is great, but just saying, we're going to put more police officers, that doesn't work. It's the education piece. It's the letting young people know there's other choices. Don't carry that knife. Don't do that thing. I feel like a lot of the time the government will just answer the question by saying, we've just employed this amount of police officers. We're going to have this many more foot patrols. I live in central London myself, and I haven't seen a foot patrol in probably about 2 months. Yeah. And I live in a really rife area for crime. So we're not seeing that, unfortunately. There are some amazing funders that fund projects, but ultimately it's, until something like this is statutory in schools as well, particularly schools where it's prevalent, I don't see how we'll achieve that change, because it needs to start with stopping the people picking up the knife or committing the crime.
Is the mayor behind it? Because there's a lot of criticism over our mayor. There's very few people I talk to that are kind of advocate what he's doing in central London, especially with fucking roadworks and just like the amount of time. I mean, I can't believe that there's I don't know if you know Sloane Street.
Yes.
That was literally gridlocked. It must be 300 meters long, 400 meters long, and it has been under construction, or was under construction, for about 2 years.
Yep.
They put a pavement in and a row of trees.
Yeah.
Right. Made the road slightly less wide.
Yep.
There was no issue with it anyway.
No, we're seeing that a lot. I'm seeing that a lot. I don't live too far from there.
And I found out that it cost 70 million.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And look, they might have done some cabling in it and improved some infrastructure, which I'm unaware of, right?
Yeah.
But the kind of speed and investment that the mayor's getting heavily criticised for advocating these kind of the wrong issues, I guess, and prioritising, the Park Lane bus lane thing. They've just put this a bus lane in and then a cycle lane, and the cycle lane cost an absolute fortune, took forever to build. Just inside Hyde Park, running parallel with it, is a cycle lane, the full length, right? And you're like, what? It's almost like they're running out of ideas of where to invest and spend their time.
Huge initiatives that could benefit.
Yeah, yeah. And so are you seeing anything from him that's really pushing the agenda?
I mean, we actually met him a few weeks ago
at
the Camden Summit. Yep. And, was very complimentary and supportive of our work. But that wider piece, that are we seeing it trickle down? Are we seeing the funding? Are we seeing the policy behind it? Yep. Not at the moment.
Has he invited you back to a group or?
No, we've not. He happened to be at the summit. He did a speech. He heard Kevin and Jade actually presented about Kayleigh's dream.
Right.
There was a quick, handshake and a well done. But that's
yeah. Fuck you, man. See some people like you guys doing what you're doing. Round you up. Let's have a quarterly meeting, not with individuals, with 20 groups that are doing what you're doing, or 5 or 10 or however many there are.
Bring the frontline together. Yeah. Yeah.
Bring them together, understand the problems, create a little task force, really prioritize those challenges, then find out the most creative and impactful way of addressing them. Yeah. That's how you make change.
Yeah, 100%.
And it doesn't even have to be him. Just designate one of his local councillors to. That's your channel.
Own it, yeah.
Yeah, fucking own it. There's just the problem is that these slow moving people. And look, I'm sure he might have done a lot of great stuff, and it's not. I don't have a big problem with him per se.
Yeah.
But when I do see these projects that they're spending so much time and money and investment, 2 years on this, where's the 70 million that's been invested in addressing the knife crime issues, not through extra police? I'm not talking about that.
So initiatives to actually prevent it and make London a safer place.
Absolutely. Yeah. What could you and all of those groups do with 50-60 million quid?
Yeah.
To educate all the children across London?
Yeah.
Not being spent by government, because government has the ability to take a £1 million project and turn it into a £70 million fucking project. So we don't trust you to deploy it, government.
Yeah.
It's just too fucking expensive.
Yeah.
So how do we create, some channels which distribute and invest in?
Yeah. And join forces. So, we're saying choose other pathways. There could be people doing stuff out there that can provide some of those other pathways. And we say, right, go over there and do that instead of picking up that knife or going on that night that you're going to do something wrong.
And so if anyone wants to get hold of you or the KD.
Yep, Kayleigh's Dream. Our website is kayleighsdream.com. Yep. My contact details are all on there. Jade, Kevin and I, all of our details are on there. So
amazing, good. And so what's next for you? So we're talking. What have you've taken? You've now got a clean slate, haven't you?
Yes, I do.
You've got the world in front of you. What's important to your next steps?
Purpose. I'm part of that batch. Purpose. Yep. Working for an organisation or with an organisation that just wants to do things a little differently and has an open eye to the changes that are happening, but with innovation. So I guess that how can we do things that no other business is doing, that's bringing people together, driving a culture that people want to work and stay. I think that, like we mentioned earlier, there's no emotional attachment to the workplace now. So that means attrition and retention. They're just all over the place at the moment.
Yeah.
And just working with a business that wants to get people to stay and to work towards something long term as well.
Yes.
But yeah, at the moment I am enjoying the sunshine. I feel like it was like, okay, you're not working right now, have some sun. So yeah, I'll take that.
Couldn't be better timing, could it? It's been
really couldn't. It's been amazing. Literally since the day that I left my last business, the sun hasn't stopped shining.
Perfect. Well, there's a message for you.
There we go.
Yes, yeah. Well, look, Hayley, thank you for taking the time out.
Thank you.
It's lovely to see you.
Amazing. Again. Lovely to see you too.
And yeah, let's hope our paths collide more regularly.
Yes, definitely. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.